All right, so this is going to be an update to my non-seasonal Demon Hunter. I've recently made some changes to the character based on some stuff I was doing in the season for season 28. One of those changes is I made a primal ninth series satchel because it pretty much gives you some really good things, right? And in this case, uh, the dexterity, the vitality, the attack speed, and reduce all resources costs were really good. The critical hit chance was not so good. Uh, for whatever reason, I did not get a perfect critical hit chance. Instead, it gave me another attribute that I didn't want, so I re-rolled it into critical hit, which gave me a 10% increase. And then, of course, I've already had some other primal gear here that was giving me some good stuff. Again, here on the Squirt's necklace, did not have a very good critical hit chance at all to it. It was something else. I re-rolled it, changed it over to critical hit to go along with the critical hit damage and dexterity there. And as you can see with most of my items, I've been re-rolling them to try to get a really good critical hit chance, providing they had good everything else. Um, so right now, because of those slight changes, things that I've been doing, I have got up to a 65.56 critical hit chance, right? Of course, if I change one of my passives, that critical hit chance will pretty much zoom up to 100% and end up doing a lot of damage. So, still using the Guardian set. I know that I'm over 2,000 on Paragons, and some people say that when you're between 2,000 and 2,500, the Guardian set just isn't worth it, and you could trade off to the Aughild set. But I'm going to be honest, I'm just not seeing it. I have an Aughild based build, um, and I just don't feel it does any better than the Guardian set. Not in my personal opinion through playing and experimenting. I know what the numbers say. I know what the descriptors say, how it's supposed to increase your damage against stuff or whatever, but it's geared mostly towards elites and only elites. And unfortunately, elites are not the only thing you're dealing with when you're in rifts or anything else, right? You've got trash mobs that you got to kill, and I just don't feel that it gives me enough of a damage boost against trash mobs. I Guardians set just it overall all around performance seems to be better to me in playing around and experimenting with it. Um, so so I'm going to stick with the Guardian set. But some of the other major changes I did was, I kept obviously the Fortress Ballista on, but I swapped out Dawn for a ninth series satchel, and then I put Dawn in my weapon slot of the Kanai Cube, along with my Depth Diggers, and Ring of Royal Grandeur here. Uh, Everything else, for the most part, on previous videos I've done is still the same, with exception to the Zay Stone of Vengeance. I'm going to come over here to my stash because this is a little easier to go between and show you. So, um, where is it? Here we go. Right here is the Bane of the Trapped. I know a lot of people use Bane of the Trapped, and I think up until a certain point, it's actually pretty good. Um, but it seems like the higher the rifts you get up into, uh, Bane of the Trap just doesn't work. There's a break point for using it. Um, as you can see, I've got a level 122. That gives me a 51.6% damage increase against enemies who are under the effects of control impairing stuff. Well, here's the problem with that. It's kind of a twofold thing here. A, as you get higher into the rifts, the enemies become less and less affected by control impairing, it seems. So they're more resistant to control impairing effects at higher, greater rift levels. And that includes your trash mobs all the way up through. Um, and so for me, it seems to, at least in the seasonal side, to be right around greater rift level 120. That Bane of the Trap just doesn't seem to cut it because in order for it to proc itself, you have to be close to the enemies. You got to be within 15 yards of the enemies to get that 30% movement decrease on the enemy, and then therefore be able to proc your 51% damage increase. So, you know, everybody likes to bring their characters, if I can get it centered up. There, we're centered up. We're not going to use it. You know, the 50-yard mark seems to be about the outside of this circle, right? So then if we're looking, you know, maybe these are going in increments of, you know, 15 or whatever, but if this is 50, this is somewhere around, you know, like 25 or so here. So 15 is going to be really, really close, right? You've got to be really, really close to anything to get that guaranteed Bane of the Trapped procking, and then get your guaranteed damage. And when you're getting close to the enemies at higher grade rifts like that, you have more of a chance of getting hit and more of a chance of getting killed. So I stopped using Bane of the Trapped. I've started using Zay's Stone of Vengeance. Now, if you look at my very low rank Zay's, it's only a rank 90. And I know it says I get 11.2% for every 10 yards, with a maximum of 56% at 50 yards. But if I can stay outside the 50-yard range, I'm getting a 56% damage increase versus a 51% damage increase that only happens if the enemy is under control impairing effects. So even at a lower level ranking, Zay's is doing more damage within certain reason. And I know people might run the numbers and do all the math on it. Go ahead, that's fine. I've actually done it through experimentation. I'm not worried about running the math and running the numbers. I don't care what it says on paper. I care about actual results. And I can actually push higher, greater rifts using the Zay's Stone of Vengeance versus using the Bane of the Trapped. Especially with the Demon Hunter build, at least anyway, because I can stay outside the range of the enemies hitting me, which puts me outside the 50-yard range. So I'm going to always get the maximum Zay's Stone of Vengeance damage when I hit targets, you know? And so that's very important to me. Now, that combined with the Guardian set, it makes me very, very tanky and keeps my damage up. I know Aughild's, people will say Aughild's is better. I'm going to disagree with that, simply because Aughild's gears more of its damage towards elites. And when you're using the Demon Hunter and his GOD build, so it's a spin to win build, you're not a point target kind of fighter. You're really not. You're an area damage with random point target damage, right? Because you're spinning. You're spinning, and every time your strafe hits an enemy, then it fires off your devouring arrow. Devouring arrow is basically a heat seeker arrow, right? So, but it's going after the nearest enemy first and foremost, always. So you can't really control where that thing is going. In which case, you need damage to be set up in a way that you're going to be able to effectively destroy everything, not just one thing, right? So I'm not gearing my character towards elites and only elites, because the only way for me to guarantee damage elites and nothing but means I have to get up close and personal with them, and that puts me at more risk of getting damaged myself, regardless of my shields and everything that I have up. It may not help me. So I think if I just stay outside the range and gear this character towards whatever damage, a balanced damage towards everything, I have a better chance of survival, and it's worked out so far. I mean, you know, people tend to forget that the trash counts towards building your rift bar up. And so I'm just going to go through here, and I'm going to destroy the elites. I'm not going to gear myself specifically towards them. I can't control my arrows and where they're going specifically, so I'm going to try to be able to be balanced out and take out everything. Now, I can control the arrows when there's no trash around me. They will go for nothing but the elites, right? So we want to be able to take out trash just as effectively as we take out anything else. And in this case, the way this build setup is, this is working the best. Now, keep in mind, again, this is non-seasonal, so, you know, I'm not getting all those special benefits that come with Season 28 and the Altar of Rights. But see, now I'm a point target. Everything is dead around me, so I can be aiming strictly for the enemy, the elite, and all my arrows are going to go towards it. So if I just stay outside their damage range and let the devouring arrows do its thing. I'm not trying to be specific about what I'm killing. I'm just keeping a distance and letting those arrows fly at whoever they're going to fly at. They will eventually wipe out the trash. They pierce and build up their damage capabilities. So if they go through enough trash and then hit an elite, you know, they're going to damage that elite. And then once all the trash in the area is gone, the arrows have nowhere to go but the elites, and it will end up taking them out. And it's more effective using the Zay's Stone of Vengeance than it is using Bane of the Trap, because I can stay outside that range of the enemy. He can't hit me well, but he's within my range of doing a lot of damage because I'm more than 50 yards away, right? And that works great. Now, in some cases here, the lightning kind of sucks because, yes, you're far enough away that you're not always hitting that lightning. That's okay. Get in a little bit closer. It's not too bad, right? Get in and damage them. The only time I got to worry is when there's those spinny things that come off of the pylons. They tend to kill really quick, you know? But I've been finding this build setup to be a lot more effective, a lot more consistent with getting through the rifts, especially at higher rifts. I know this is only a 120 right now, but I'm doing this 120 as a demonstration and nothing more. So we'll do it with the Zay's Stone of Vengeance, check out the times, and then we'll do it with the Bane of the Trapped and check out the times. But I think this is a much better overall balanced build setup than using the Bane of the Trapped and Aughild's, at least in my experience so far. From everything I've tried, this has been a way better balanced build than using Aughild's with Bane of the Trapped. So instead, using Guardians with Zay's. I can stay back a bit, just fire off arrows and let them go. I have a high enough critical hit that I'm doing a lot of damage. And then now that the trash is out of the way, that elite is going to go down fairly quick. Is he a juggernaut? He reflects damage. He's nightmarish, so he's going to be a little bit tougher than normal. But that's fine. He's still going down fairly decent. And there we go. Now in my seasonal, 120s are nothing, because there's so many things you're getting with the Altar of Rights. Yes, I am throwing out grenades in case anybody's wondering if they're seeing that, because those grenades do 460% weapons damage, and it's an area damage versus Rocket Storm, which I know is a 130% and they're homing, so they'll always hit the targets, but I'm just trying to clear out everything in the area, and the Rocket Storm was doing good, but it seems like this one was helping a little bit better as far as the grenades go. So I've been using it. Hate those damage reflectors, man. Ugh. Since these seem to be panning out pretty well, I may make these same changes on my seasonal. I've already switched over to the Zay's Stone of Vengeance and then the Guardian set there, but I may change the Rocket Storm over to the grenades as well. Boom, boom, boom. We took all those guys out. It's a lot of elites there. Elites here. Not getting jack for pylons on this run. But here we go. The one thing I normally do that I didn't do with this one is I usually, for one of my passives, I take the sharpshooter. Because then it obviously puts the critical hit chances up higher. And I'll go from 65 to 70 to 80 to 100 real fast. I did not make that change on here. I'm just using the consistent archery. So that I can keep it right at a steady 65% the whole time when testing out the gems. This is what I'm talking about. With here's where it becomes the point of target attack, right? Because there was nobody else around. So the only person to attack is the elite, and then the damage goes up against that elite. A hell of a lot better. Now with Aughilds, yeah, the damage on that elite would have been even more for just the elite, but the problem is I can't specifically hit the elite with all this trash around me, and Aughild just doesn't take out the trash like it should. It doesn't seem to give me a consistent kill hit. So that's why I use the Guardians. I think the Guardians makes it more consistent, keeps my damage up higher overall, and then everything dies a little faster in the end. I mean, here, see that? I was able to just run circles around, plus I've got the power, which is really nice. Oh, running out of hatred. That is the one thing about this build that does suck. Resources, unless you have a lot of enemies to be constantly attacking, your resources run out pretty darn quick. So you got to be able to manage them fairly well. This is another reason why I was using the archery, because the archery gives you an extra hatred. And here we go. Now we'll take out our little Rift Guardian here. We'll get outside that 50-yard range. And he's just going to go down fairly quick. As you can see, those grenades are all going right at him. So that's a 460% damage increase. All my arrows are going, well, they were going directly at him until those guys showed up. So I'm just going to move over here so I can keep it consistently hitting him and not worried about his little minions. And then we're just going to take him out. Yeah, well, you can move away, you chicken. And I'm not worried about speed through this. I'm worried about being able to get through it consistently and having enough time left to spend time killing the Rift Guardian. That's what matters to me, is to be able to survive the rifts, get through them in a consistent, efficient manner, and be able to have enough time left that I can spend time on the Rift Guardian. I don't want to gear myself specifically towards elites. I'm not trying to gear myself specifically towards the Guardian itself, like using Bane of the Stricken, uh, because then it means you have to do very, very specific things with your character when you're playing in order to get through, right? So if you're doing Bane of the Trap with Bane of the Stricken, you got to stay in close, and you always got to be hitting the same enemy to build up the stacks of the Stricken and stuff, or close enough to proc the Bane of the Trapped. Um, I want survivability. I want to be able to stay away and continue giving damage, even if it means I have to sacrifice time or speed. That's fine. Again, I want consistency and survivability. That's what I'm going for here. So we'll keep all things the same. We'll get our Bane of the Trapped at a 122, and that's all we're going to swap out for right now. All right, we'll put our Bane of the Trapped in there and see if we can perform any better. Same greater rift level. Nothing has changed other than the gems. Gotta get my momentum up. That's what I was talking about. As you can see, I'm falling behind already, because you can't get in close with these guys using this Bane of the Trapped in order to get it to proc, because then they're gonna be able to hit you. Your shields ain't gonna do you any good, you know. So unless you have a lot of vitality in there to base your shields off of, you're not gonna be as performing as well. So I have to keep my distance enough so that they can't take me out. My shields can be hit and absorb the damage, but then I'm not getting the damage from Bane of the Trap like I should. And this is going to take me a lot longer to get through. And we're going to be running the risk of not defeating the Rift Guardian in time. The only thing I did here was change out Zay's Stone of Vengeance, right? Everything else about the build is still the same. The only thing we did was take away Zay's and add Bane of the Trap, and it's just not performing as well. Ah, and they trapped me. Urgh. And that's again because I know for a fact that the higher the greater rifts, the more resilient the enemy is. They are not as affected by control impairing at the higher greater rifts. And it seems to be right around the 120 mark that they become a lot more resilient to control impairing. So I'm going to try to get in close, hope I don't die here, to try to take out this elite. And it's the Bane of the Trapped is not performing. I'm barely running equal. With Zays, I could stay outside this range, get that consistent 50+% damage. And overall, I just think because of that consistency, it performs better. Right? So, and this is where the proof is in the pudding. I don't care what the descriptors say on the gems or the equipment or whatever. I believe in testing and seeing the results firsthand as you test and play around. And for sure, there's a break point with Bane of the Trapped. I think it works great up to a point, but then after that, it's just no longer any good. Now, Bane of the Stricken is going to be the same problem Because Bane of the Stricken, the way the stacks work is you have to keep hitting the same enemy over and over and over and over again. Well, with the Demon Hunter GOD build, right, Strafe controls everything. Strafe is a random target area damage. You never know who you're going to hit, so you can't guarantee that you're always hitting the same target to keep your stricken up, especially when you're surrounded with trash. So the only way to make that guarantee is you have to sit here and play strategically, very strategically, and you have to sit here and like keep your distance, right? You have to keep a distance, keep the enemy coming towards you, so that you're hitting whatever enemy is walking at you, right? So you got to walk them away, walk them away, walk them away, in order to get your strafe to shoot off your hungering and get that hungering to go right at a specific target. Problem is, if you got tons of trash constantly around you that you're not able to kill because you're geared more towards elites, then that ain't going to do you no good, because strafe is going to eventually hit those freaking random trash targets, and then all your damage is going to be going on those instead of going towards your elites. But you're not killing the trash because you're not geared to kill trash. You're geared to kill elites. That's why I don't like using Aughilds. I just don't think it's as consistent across the board. And again, I want consistency. So listen, look at, all I did was change the gem, and I am just not doing the damage that I was before. This is ridiculous. I've fallen way behind. I'm trying to stay in close, but health-wise, it's just not doing it. I'm freaking taking damage, and I got to keep using that potion, and it's not like there's a fast cooldown on my potion. Might get lucky enough to catch up here. Okay, I caught up, but that was way too much time. I'm getting halfway into this rift. I haven't had jack for a pylon either yet. Let's run around and see if there's any pylons that I can make use of. No. Let's go up here because there was an elite up here. We'll try to kill these guys. See if we can make up. Ah, here we go. So we'll get a power pylon. Oop, the spinners. Hate those, because they shoot your arrows right back at you. So can we get ahead? Can we use the power pylon to get ahead? We're barely getting ahead. Barely, barely, barely. Power pylon's going to run out on us. Oop, up, 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 get away. Come on. Again, this is what I'm talking about. Experimentation, experimentation. You got to play and see results for yourself. I know what it says on paper. Paper is theory. Real world is very, very different than the paper, let's call it, right? Like anything in life, theory is one thing, results are another, when you put them into practice. And in this case, I'm finally getting a jump on it, but man, we are more than halfway through this rift, and its timer, and I am not that far ahead. So this is going to be a close run, a very close run to finish this rift off. Okay, we got a shield, so we can stay in close now. That's fine. Maybe we can take advantage of that, get the damage here. on, come on, come on. Oh, oh, there's purple up there. I missed. Give me that. Thank you. All right, we still got shield for a little bit, so we'll get in close on these guys. Hopefully that'll get us, again, to destroy them quicker so that we can try to get enough of a lead. We can finish this rift and get our levels for our gems. Come on. Die before the shield runs out, please. Die, 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 die. Come on. Shield's about to die off. Shield is about to die off. Come on, die, 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 die. 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 Thank you. All right, so we got this measly 3% to finish off here. I just need enough enemies to make it happen. Running out of hatred there. See, I can't get in close on him to take him out because he's got that frickin' fire and ice crap that he does. And this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. This is where Bane of the Trapped loses it, because you gotta stay outside the range of his damage. Gotta stay outside the range of his damage, and you just don't get the damage that you get with Zays, because you gotta get in close in order for Bane of the Trapped to proc itself, because they are so much more resistant at the higher rift levels. I'm going to have to come in, damage, get out. Had 3 minutes remaining. Got so lucky there. So let's go find our Zays so we can beef it up. There it is, 94. All right, we'll go back to town. Close out the rift. Claim our other gems here. Nothing's, it's all junk. All right, so let's go over here. And let's do our Aughild build, right? Here's the Aughild build. So we've got our shoulders here and then our bracers, right? So the only thing we're losing is, of course, the Guardians, which I use the bracers and the helm for the Guardians. I'll end up swapping the things out here. Let me get this equipped first. So then we'll take our... Oh, did we already swap that? Was that already part of the build? Why did it not swap out my weaponry here? Interesting. It should have swapped out. For whatever reason, it didn't swap out the 9th Series Satchel, which is weird, because I didn't want it to do that. But that's okay. We're going to swap this out with Dawn. I don't want that. So here's our... This is what we want here. And we're going to do it again with Bane of the Trapped. I'm going to save that as it is on the Aughild build. And then we'll do another 120. However, if it's doing crappy, I will not complete it. And I will then go and switch out for Zay's Stone of the Vengeance. And we'll see how much better it does. So here we are. We're geared towards elites. We're going to try to do damage towards elites and try to get these guys to die. Using the standard build, using Aughild, using Bane of the Trapped. But again, in order to get Bane of the Trapped procced, I have to get in close, and that puts me at a risk of death because I can't kill the flippin' trash around me as easily. So that I can gear it towards killing these elites. So I have to get in close with them. And just for numbers here, if you look, my damage isn't as high, right? I'm not getting up there to the near 10 million part. And my dexterity is only at 24,000 versus the 35,000 that you get with the Guardians. So the Guardians makes you a lot more tankier, easier to survive. So here I have to hunt down the elites. I can't mess with trash in any way. I just got to run away, find me the elites. There we go. Get in here. Try to get them procced. There's trash in the way that's not dying quick enough for me to be able to then go after the elite specifically. Got a power pylon. Maybe we can get advantage of that. Ah! Died just way too easy. And I even have the boar on this build in order to give me a little bit better tankiness here, and it's just not cutting it. I still die way too flippin' easy, which is why I don't like it. Now with the Aughilds and Bane of the Trap, it does perform better than the Guardian Bane of the Trapped. But it does not perform better than Zay's. and I don't live as long. That's the problem. I die too easily. I should be way ahead based on the numbers, based on how well Aughild is supposed to be against elites. Look at this. It's just taken forever to kill this elite. Where's that extra 30% increased damage? I don't feel like I'm getting it. All right, let's get out of here and go find us another area. Ooh, here we go. This area usually is pretty good for pylons, which means I can get more elites too. Come on. Okay, more elites. Come on. Give me enough time to defeat the Guardian here. We get enough. I can get this to where I got at least half the remaining time. Ah. Of course, I'm going to lose that. Damn it. Urgh. Come on. Come on. Back up there. Again, this is why I don't like Aughilds. I'm not going to get my +1 on the gem now because I've already died at least once, right? And that kills that. But I've died, what, 2, 3 times now? Which is frustrating. You know, I prefer to stay alive, get my maximum gem upgrades here. But again, Bane of the Trapped. You gotta stay in close with these guys in order to get the control impairing and then proc the Bane of the Trapped. All right. Really getting frustrated. Come on. This is why I like Zays. Because Zays, I can stay outside their range, but they're still well within my range, and I can get a lot of damage. And then I can just sit and run the circles around them and not have to worry. Come on, die. Should bring out the Guardian. No. 2% away. All right, let's just go and kill some stuff. Here we go. All right, now we got our Guardian. Who is it? Ember. Yay, as much of a pain in the butt as Rhyme is. We're just going to get in close, take advantage of this lightning. And try to take him down. Try to take him down. Try to take him down. Come on. I have more than enough time to do this, but 5 minutes remaining. Let's beef up our Zays again, because he just gets more damage. Now he's at an equal 100. Useless, useless. Destroy all this. Now we're going to go swap out Zays. Where is my Zays? Boom. So again, all things are still the same, only swapping out the gems. And we'll do another 120. I'm not even going to add the paragons in or anything. Again, I can stay outside their range, and I can just take them out from a distance using the Zays. But again, elites don't seem to be going down any faster just because I'm using Aughilds. Ugh, they still got me. And this is where I prefer the Guardians over the Aughilds, because the tankiness it gives me. It's more consistent. Now here, trash mobs are going to be a problem. Why? Because Aughilds is geared towards elites. But I've got to be able to get past these trash mobs to find those elites, and then consistently deal with both elites and trash mobs when I do find the elites. And I just don't feel like Aughilds cuts it. So here we go. This is where you get trash coming in. Now I got to deal with taking out the trash while I'm trying to fight that elite. I have no way of specifically hitting the elite without hitting the trash either. And the trash is not going down like it should. All right. Doing enough to stay ahead of the game here. That's good. Oh, got an elites in there. All right. So we're going to just try to keep my distance and take them out from a distance. Those trash mobs are going to get in the way. And I cannot take them out fast enough using Aughilds. Again, this is why I do not like Aughilds. I don't think it's as effective as the Guardian set is. I think the Guardian set is just more consistent. Okay, that's twice that I've died already. Because I don't have the tankiness that I need with the Guardian. Out to a little bit more of an open area so I can fight better. See? here where I have more open space to work with. I can keep my distance. Things will die faster because I take advantage of that Zaze. Keep our distance. Gonna have to take out that trash. Try to take out that elite. Again, Guardians would perform much, much better here. We've already seen that. I think people underrate the Guardian set. I know they say that, oh, there's a break point on it when you get to... I just don't understand that, because the higher you make your dexterity in your attributes, every time you get a Paragon level, the more effective Guardians is, right? Because it increases the damage of your dexterity on your items. So there's going to be a set point where that is always going to be, you know, a certain number guaranteed no matter what. And then as you build up the dexterity and or the vitality in your Paragons, you're just adding on to what the Guardians is already giving you, which is why I feel it's just so much a much better set. Now, maybe if you get up to a certain point in Paragons, like 3,000 or something, maybe Guardians just no longer becomes effective. But I don't see how that's possible. I mean, if Guardians is increasing base items by 100 or 1,000 or whatever it is, and let's say it takes all of your base items, and just based on base items alone, you have added together 5,000 dexterity, and then Guardians bumps that up to 10,000 dexterity, right? That's a guaranteed 10,000 dexterity at all times, no matter what, right? Doubles that up to 10 grand. Now you're building on your dexterity through Paragon points, so that 10,000 just then increases consistently. Whereas you put the Aughilds on, your dexterity drops, you're basically only getting the lowest item dexterity plus your Paragon dexterity. And you lose quite a bit. And we all know that, especially with a Demon Hunter, dexterity is going to be the key to damage. And so the same is true with the wizards and everything else. I mean, Aughilds builds your intelligence up, right? Your base intelligence, your base strength, whatever it may be, based on the item stuff. So if the items are giving you 5,000 intelligence and Guardians beefs that up to say 10,000, then that's always a guaranteed 10,000. And if you find better items with higher intelligence, dexterity, or strength, that base is just going to get higher and higher. And then you're adding on to it with your Paragon side, right? So I don't see how Guardians has much of a breakpoint, because it's always going to give you a higher level on your attributes. Always. Because your items are always going to be guaranteed effectively doubled almost. I believe it doubles them total based on the way it works. So, but as you can see, this just isn't cutting it. Guardians, I would have been way ahead already and probably completing this rift. I just don't feel Aughilds is worthwhile. And again, it's not by running the numbers and going, well, mathematically it's supposed to do this. This is just playing, using them. I don't care mathematically what it's supposed to do, because when I use it, it doesn't seem to pan out. Book theory does not seem to work for application. As we can see, the Zane of Stone of Vengeance is outperforming Bane of the Trap, because I can stay further away, stay outside that damage area that they have, which allows me to more effectively kill. I just need to find another elite. I can finish this off quickly. Or, oh, let's get, here we go. We'll get our elite right here. Ooh, spinners, I hate them. Keep our distance if they can't hurt me. Take them out. All right, so we got 99%. Let's just go find enough people to kill to get our Guardian to show up. Look how much faster that Guardian goes down now using the Zays versus the Bane of the Trap. Yes, the Aughild is giving me that increased damage against elites to make that happen, but that's about the only time Aughild comes in useful is when you're going against the Rift Guardian, because you get the elite specific boost at all times, because there's nothing else, right? The Rift Guardian shows up, everything else dies. So unless the Rift Guardian brings people in, all your damage is specifically going towards him, and it's increased a ton. But overall, I just don't think this Aughild set performs as well as the Guardian set does. And so I think Guardians using Zay Stone of Vengeance over Bane of Trap combo is a much better set overall. It's more consistent. You're doing a higher number of damage. It's more consistent with the damage. And also you're getting the benefits of the base item boost, right? I mean, look at what Aughild does to me. I only get 24,000, almost 25,000 of dexterity. But if I go and just switch to the Guardian build that I use, I got a 11,000% increase, or not 11,000%, I'm sorry, 11,000 dexterity increase on that. Which just, I mean, immediately took my damage up to near 7 million, right? It's ridiculous. Guardians is the way to go. It just really is. Maybe as I get higher in Paragons, I'll find that there's a break point where Guardians doesn't seem to benefit anymore, but I just don't see how Guardians isn't going to be a benefit. If just having these two items on increases the base dexterity and vitality on every other item that I'm wearing and boosts me up to a dexterity of 35,000 and a vitality of 10,000. What did the other give me? Let's go to the Aughild set. Aughild's gives me 24 and 6. I don't see how anybody can say that Aughild's is more beneficial than Guardians. I think overall Guardians is always going to be more beneficial, because as you find better and better items, you know, you're going to get higher and higher dexterity, higher and higher vitality, right? So if I got primal everything, I'm going to have perfect stats on my dexterity, perfect stats on my vitality, and Guardians is just going to increase that. I just don't see how Aughild's is a better set compared to Guardians. And I get what everybody says, like I said, with the math and the numbers there, that they're, but I'm sorry, I don't see it mathematically how it's supposed to make you any better. Guardians is the way to go for me. So that's my recommendation. Put on a Guardian set uh, and get those increases, and then just keep building up your Paragon dexterity side to just add on top of that, um, and then go from there with it. You know, um, a lot of people are probably going to say, "Oh, well, it's the way that Aughild has some sort of multiplicative or additive or something or whatever." I don't know. I'm not seeing it. Not seeing it with the Bane of the Trapped either. I see it better with Zay's Stone of Vengeance right now. Maybe there's going to be a point where Zay's Stone of Vengeance doesn't work anymore, and maybe Bane of the Trapped will be better at some point. It'll be definitely better when I'm going against the Guardians themselves because it increases damage against them. Uh, but I got to get to the Rift Guardian first, right? And the problem is Bane of the Trap, Bane of the Stricken. Neither one of those helps me with the trash mobs enough to get me to the Guardian in a time frame that gives me enough time to then defeat the Guardian. It's too close, too risky, too close. So personally, I feel this is the better build to go with. This setup, Guardians and Zays versus Aughilds and Bane of the Trapped, or even Aughilds and Zays. The Guardian Zays setup is the best. And then, of course, obviously, Taiguk and Simplicity Strength, those are staples. They have to stay in there. So, I don't know. Give me your thoughts. Let me know what you think. And then we'll go from there with it. Until the next video, enjoy.